What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So in this video we're talking about all-time great, at least modern greats, modern classics for the fall season, because it's in full effect. Obviously we still get our warm days depending on where you're living, but we have a lot more cool fronts that keep creeping in and allowing us to wear these more autumn appropriate, heavier, denser, spicy, boozy, tobaccos, smokes, florals, all the different styles that everybody seems to like in this perfect transitional season from fall to winter. So I've got 15 that I think are just all-time greats as far as designers are concerned, and I want to discuss them with you. Stay tuned. Might as well start with today's scent choice. I wore this earlier. This is Dior Sauvage, the eau de parfum specifically. Now, this one I kind of exclusively wear in the fall. I actually wear the parfum more year-round than I do this one, because the added spiciness to this one from the eau de toilette, I think, makes this one of the better fresh and spicy scents out there for daily wear in the autumn season. It's great performer. I only did 4 sprays today. That's more than enough. It's got a beautiful sillage, very long lasting. Like I said, it still has that bergamot citrus, that metallic shower gel smell, and the eau de toilette still has a peppery spice, but here it's enhanced greatly. It's a little bit darker. I believe there's like a star anise note or something like that with the pepper that they use. I believe it's a Sichuan pepper, so you get that nice hot spicy tone with a very fresh fragrance to create one of the better spicy shower gel scents ever made with great performance. So I think it's a modern classic. It's great for the fall because I kind of exclusively wear it in this season. It's Sauvage Eau de Parfum. Now, there's a few in here that are known to be discontinued. From what I understand, this one's discontinued, but it's a modern classic for this particular season. It's Azzaro Wanted by Night. Now, there was a time when this was everybody's like go-to designer when it came to the fall season. This is a gigantic 5-ounce bottle. I'll never go through all of this. Has a little bit of that Invictus bubblegum sweetness with a lot of like cinnamon spices, a little bit of a, you know, sweet tobacco, ambery type of dry down. It's good stuff. It's very good stuff. Some people, this is still their personal favorite. Recently, Fragrance Buy had a restock of it. Sold out very quickly. And it was for a great price. It was like 58, 60 bucks or something for 100 ml, which is higher than it used to be, but still below retail and way better than what it's been going for resale. So if you can come across this one, it is one of the better, you know, almost a timeless classic at this stage for the autumn season, because it's sweet, it's spicy, it's warm and ambery, it's very alluring and attractive, it's easygoing, it's a crowd pleaser, and it performs really well. So if you can get your nose on this one, even though it's harder to find these days, it's definitely one of the better ones in modern history for men's perfumery for, you know, as far as designers. It's Azzaro Wanted by Night. This is one that people still talk about all the time because it's just so good. It's not an overwhelming monster, but it is a very strong fragrance, and it lasts a really long time. I wouldn't call it a straight-up beast, but it's like one notch or so below being a beast. Everybody's favorite designer honey fragrance, 1 Million Lucky. Paco Rabanne absolutely killed it with this fragrance. This is some good stuff. Honey, hazelnut, plum. Typical 1 Million sweetness, but more of a gourmand take on said sweetness without as much spice. Compliment factory in this bottle. It's just every spray, damn near, for most people seems to be a compliment waiting to happen. Again, there's no guarantees with any fragrances, but DNAs like this seem to have a better shot at getting things like that, admittedly on the youthful, playful side of things, because it is just so sweet. Some of these you have to really enjoy the modern, you know, sweet fragrance style that men's designers have gone, and this one's definitely on the heavier side of what I would call a sweet designer fragrance, but very intoxicating stuff. You know, at least in my experience, I love the way it smells, the wife loves the way it smells, and I have several friends here in the community that them and their significant others seem to really enjoy this one. It's an all-time great, not just modern classic, in my opinion, when it comes to the fall season. It's Paco Rabanne's 1 Million Lucky. Now, this is all-time great. Classic through and through. It'll never be, you know, played out, in my opinion. It's one of the greats when it comes to sweet ambery and a little bit of tobacco without smelling like Wanted by Night like we talked about earlier. It's Dolce & Gabbana the One. Here we have the eau de toilette. You're just as well with the EDP, which I don't have. I don't necessarily need. Get that to focus all the way. There we go. And I don't know if I'll ever get, because I don't reach for it all that much. But when I do, it's during this particular season because it's perfect for it. Not just for date nights. It's an all-time great date night fragrance in itself. But, you know, I like to wear stuff like this during the day on those crisp days. I like the warmness of the ambery accord that they have. It's not too much tobacco. It doesn't really smell all that authentic of a tobacco smell, just like with Wanted by Night. But it's a nice, you know, slightly robust, not super thick, earthiness that it adds to it with the sweetness. You know, compliment magnet type of stuff. Not winning any real performance awards. Guys, that smells good. But, you know, I get like 4 or 5 hours of longevity out of this one. That's fine for me. I can always reapply if I need more, or depending on the situation, it might just be, you know, just right. But this is one of those fragrances that's an absolute classic, and one that everybody should experience, even if you're not really into this as a hobby, which if you're watching this video, you probably are. But, you know, it's a great stepping stone kind of fragrance. And no matter how big or small your collection ends up being, it's one that, you know, most people can go back to and get a lot of joy out of. Because, hell, it's an absolute classic. That's Dolce & Gabbana, The One. With this next one, there's a recent rumbling of a parfum flanker, which I've seen a sealed box of. There's been bottle pictures. iFragrance has done a feature on it. So we are getting Bvlgari Man in Black parfum soon. And the original Bvlgari Man in Black, this is an absolute classic. This is boozy, warm, and spicy. Nice hit of rum, and it transitions greatly into a tuberose iris, creamy, powdery, and woodsy type of dry down. Elegant, but not too classy and too serious to where you can't get away with this in a slightly more casual situation, though. It does beg you to dress it up a little bit more. I like to wear stuff like this during the day in the fall and winter, but it is much more appropriate for the evenings, dressier occasions, special events, things like that. It was built for the autumn and the winter. It exudes class. It's man in black. It's built for the man wearing black, you know what I mean? Whether it's all black as in black tie, I'd probably go something a bit more daring for those types of situations, or just wearing all black because that, you know, that attire, regardless of how casual or how dressy, just seems to work for everybody wearing all black head to toe. And this scent profile definitely kind of exudes what that aroma would be to go with said attire. So all-time great stuff for sure. A lot of people's favorite from Bvlgari. And some people like this more than Spice Bomb, though it has more differences than similarities to Spice Bomb. The opening will make you think of it because it's just so warm and spicy. But an absolute stunner for the autumn season. All-time great in my opinion. Absolutely a classic. Bvlgari Man in Black. And speaking of, we might as well talk about it now. Spice Bomb, the original from Viktor and Rolf. Some people will argue for their beloved Extreme. Others will argue for some of the more modern flankers. But I think the original is tried and true. I think this is the true classic for the season when it comes to Spice Bomb. Because honestly, I like Extreme more for colder weather than what the fall can bring in most areas, especially here in the South Gulf Coast region. I think Extreme's better for the winters, whereas this just screams fall. It's warm and spicy, it's vibrant and aromatic at the same time. Nice earthiness to tobacco. You notice there's a tobacco theme going on here with a lot of these fragrances with some spices. It's a little sweet, but not super sweet. This is one of my favorite scent profiles ever. Ever. God, this is so good. I encourage everyone to try this. This is one of those fragrances when it comes to all the different flankers in the line and variations. I encourage people to try the original first because they do a really good job of tying to the heart and core DNA of this fragrance with all the flankers. So if you smell the original, you can see what route they were trying to go when they twist and tweak and evolve the scent profile. So absolutely a stunning fall classic, solid performer, compliment magnet, beautifully spiced. It's the original Viktor and Rolf Spice Bomb. Some will argue the eau de toilette. Some will say flame. And I had it here at first, but I thought, you know, Eros Eau de Parfum I think is more of a classic at this stage, whereas Flame came out in 2018. This one came out a bit before, so technically the eau de toilette would probably be the one to put here, but I don't have the eau de toilette because I like the eau de parfum more, so we're talking about Eros Eau de Parfum. But any of the three main versions, the Parfum, which the most ambery of the group. But this and the EDT are pretty close to one another. This is just a little bit smoother. Apple, mint, aromatic, creamy vanilla, a little bit of ambroxan, some amber, some woods. Very youthful, great performer. Still gets compliments to this day. I know that's important to a lot of people. But one of those playfully fruity and vanillic sweet scents that just screams this time of year. I think this is much more of a daytime scent. I know it's known for like being a clubbing scent and everything. Not my scene. I'm far beyond the days of doing that. This didn't even exist when I used to do stuff like that. That was more of a Lamal thing back then, I guess. It's still great. Admittedly, not one I gravitate to all the time these days, but I respect this fragrance and this DNA. And, there's an argument for this being my favorite. There's an argument for the flame version being my favorite because it's more woodsy and spicy overall. It's a little bit more citric than it is fruity apple. It's got some changes to it while still having a resemblance to the DNA, but it's a classic. I mean, Eros just works. I know it's played out for some, but I think it's one that everybody should at least spend a little time with at some point just to say they've had the olfactive experience, because it may end up being one of your guilty pleasure type of fragrances that really shines in the fall season. It's Versace Eros Eau de Parfum. Now, when it comes to this one, we have since had many, many flankers of this DNA. This is a flanker in itself that spawned its own flanker line. And I get it, there's clones, and people want to hunt down old vintage bottles with the darker juice because it performed better. But, I still get like 6 to 8 hours of longevity out of current formulations of this fragrance, which I don't know how long the dates you guys are going on are, but the performance I get out of Nuit de l'homme, it's just fine for me. This is such a good fragrance. Powdery, warm, and spicy. My wife loves YSL, both men's fragrances and women's fragrances. L'homme, Nuit de l'homme. Why? She enjoys those lines on me. And as far as Libre, big fan. That's her favorite fragrance, the actual Eau de Parfum, the first release, YSL Libre. She's a big fan of YSL. What can I say? And this, always a big hit in this house. Now, I can understand where a lot of people will say it's played out. Look, I like most of the flankers more than this, which, again, this is a flanker to YSL L'homme. But I respect this DNA. This is a monumental fragrance in the timeline of the evolution of men's fragrances, more specifically the date night fragrance. But whether you're going to wear it during the day or in the evenings, it's built for the fall. It's spicy and powdery. Those are two things that go hand in hand with the autumn season. You have to like both to like this fragrance, because it is definitely a spicy, powdery cardamom smell. Not a ton of lavender here. There's other versions like Bleu Electrique, which people took as more of a take on the vintage formula of this. I find this got a lot more lavender going, but totally get where they're coming from. And if you can get that, maybe that's the better way to go. It's not so easy to get in North America these days, but don't sleep on this one. Obviously, test, get out, try it. It's at most major department stores with testers. Spray it, see how you feel about it, see how your girl feels about it. But it's hard to argue against this DNA. I mean, it's tried and true. It's some good stuff. Beautiful for the fall season. Like I said, I highly respect what this fragrance has done for the genre. And it's a straight up fall classic. Yves Saint Laurent, Nuit de l'homme. And speaking of Yves Saint Laurent, I figured I'd talk about what I think. If I had to pick one YSL fragrance that's the best for fall, this is the one I would go after. If I could only have one YSL fragrance for this season, it would be Y Eau de Parfum. I think it's just very well built for it. Now, I know there's a lot of fans of the new Y Eau de Parfum Intense. There we go. Finally got it to focus. This is the downside to having a very busy background. It's hard to get your autofocus to work. This has a lot of sweet apple to the top of it. Loads of sage, fresh and spicy, musky. Doesn't have all of the aldehydes of the Eau de Toilette, or even the Le Parfum has a nice dose of aldehydes. This is a compliment machine, guys. This is one of the best blue fragrances ever. It's a monster performer, at least in my experience. Love smelling this one. I think personally it's a great 3-season fragrance, not just the fall. But the fall is when I seem to reach for it, because in the springtime I'd rather wear the EDT, honestly. Definitely not one for me in the summer. Way too cloyingly sweet and powerful. Just too much. It's just too much for me in the summertime. You may not feel that way. To each their own. Some people roll with this as a signature scent. I totally get it, because this could be just that one fragrance for you. But Personally, for me, I think it's just built best for the autumn season because you get that sweet, fruity tone. It's stronger. It cuts through the cooler weather a lot better in the evenings. It's great in the daytime for those that just like to smell great to everyone around you. It's a crowd pleaser. It's just a phenomenal fragrance for the fall, at least in my mind. It's a classic. It's Yves Saint Laurent Y Eau de Parfum. Now this next one, to this day, is my favorite for the season. This fragrance screams autumn. I think of, you know, falling leaves that are red and orange and yellow and the browns and all the color scheme, that autumn vibe. Man, it's sad that it's discontinued. It's still arguably the best they've ever put out in the line. It's Paco Rabanne's 1 million Prive. That's right, we got another 1 million flanker here in this video, but this had to be here. I mean, we're talking about classics for the season, right? To me, there's none greater. Lucky deserved a spot on here. That's why we talked about it. These are quintessential for fall. Lucky and Prive. Don't get me wrong, Elixir, the Parfum, they all work. The original, they work for this season. But this one does it best. That added tobacco note. You see that theme with amber and tobacco that I was talking about, guys? It really works with some spices, the typical sweetness. This is great. Man, is this so good. Such a great fragrance. Sad that they discontinued this one because I don't know if they'll ever put out a more complete version of the DNA. Again, they've done some great things. The newest release, Golden Oud, Middle Eastern take on 1 million. It's great. Royal, muted sweetness, more on the benzoin and a little bit of citrus and some violet leaf. It's a fresher, woodier, less sweet take. I quite like it. And again, the Elixir and the Parfum, chef's kiss, magnificent flankers. None of them are better than this one to me. Maybe the Parfum, and it's just a taste thing. Really, really like the, you know, the overall playfulness of it. But if I had to pick one, I'd probably still go this route. Not just for fall, just overall. I really think it's the perfect take on the DNA that really screams for this particular season. I don't wear it any other time of year. I might wear it once or twice a year, and it's specifically in the autumn because it's the classic of fall classics, in my opinion. If you've never tried it, it's super unfortunate. It's not easy to get. I can't imagine paying for a decant from somebody that's got a bottle. It's probably absurd with resale prices, but like I said, the fall classic of the fall classics is absolutely Paco Rabanne's 1 million Prive. Now then, is it my favorite in the line? No. Is it the most hyped ever for the brand? Absolutely. And it's great for the fall, great for the winter. It's Bentley for Men Intense. I do prefer Bentley for Men, but I can respect, appreciate, and totally understand why this is the one that gets the hype. This is the one that people like because it's aggressively masculine. What do I mean by that? It's got all the things that scream manly man. It's super dense, woodsy, smoky, leathery, boozy, spicy. The bay leaf adds this dark herbal quality to it, and it's super strong. A lot of people want that power, right? It does smell great. You know, it's hard to argue against. For around 30 bucks, this is a great pickup in addition to anyone's collection, no matter how big or small, no matter how diverse or redundant. It's a great pickup, I have to say. Like I said, admittedly, I like for men the non-intense a little bit more. It's a little smoother, more about the booze and the spice, lacks the dense woodiness, smokiness, heavy leather, and things like that. Like, it's really engulfing the airspace here around me because it's some potent stuff for the money. Pretty hard to beat, though. This is one of those ones that I think has always been justifiable with the hype it's received, and it's absolutely a classic for the season. If you haven't tried it yet, you should at least give it a shot to see what it's all about. Bentley for Men Intense. One of the fresher fragrances in this collection of 15 for fall that I like to wear this one more during the fall and spring than I do in the summer, and some of you may be surprised from that because the darker nuances, the amber wood smell, it just screams fresher fragrance that works great in the fall to me. It's Versace Dylan Blue. This is typically the time of year that I like to reach for it more so. And I do wear it in the spring, like I said. I typically don't wear it that much in the summer, believe it or not. Compliment machine. This is just churns them out. It really does. Anosmia is a real thing. You'll go nose blind to this one. I definitely do. But man, it smells good. Grapefruit and Ambroxan, a little bit of spice. There's a dark, smoky nuance to it with, like I said, an ambery, woody smell that really helps this stuff push, last, It grabs attention. It's one of the better blue fragrances, I think, for the season. Again, you can wear this one year-round. This can be a signature scent for a lot of people. It can be your way to go, you know, especially if you have some success with getting compliments from people. It's hard to not continue to reach for it. I get it. Compliments aren't everything to me, but I'm not going to sit here and act like I don't like getting a nice compliment from somebody telling me I smell nice or asking me about my fragrance. Anybody that says they don't like that, you're fooling yourself. Don't you do that, because this is some good stuff. It's kind of renowned for the ability to do that. Admittedly, nothing, again, I've said this already in the video, and I'm an advocate for it. No compliment is guaranteed with any fragrance, and that's definitely the case here, but the probability is raised greatly. It's heightened because it's just such an enjoyable scent that, admittedly, I did not like at first. It had to grow on me. Now I love and respect and appreciate it as one of the greatest blue fragrances ever made. I love to wear in the fall. It's Versace Dylan Blue. Now here's a surprise pick. Now I did make the thumbnail already, so if I had not put it in the thumbnail, it probably would have been a surprise pick for you, because I think this is better than L'homme because it's got a denser woody feel that makes it perfect for the fall season, and it's kind of the only time of year I wear it. It's Prada L'homme Rossa Sport. Yeah, you don't really hear anybody talk about this one, huh? It gets no love. And this is a good one, guys. We're actually going to give that a spray on hand. It's got that minty lavender feel with a nice woody facet. It's not really all that sporty. It's not the best name for the fragrance. But there it is. It just smells like woody dominant, dark wood dominant L'homme. Jean-Paul Gaultier's L'homme. The quality here is quite nice. This is one that you could just rock every single day during the season. It's signature scent worthy if you're very seasonal like me, and let's say you got 4 or 5 fragrances in your collection. You kind of have your cooler weather fragrance, your all around, your fresh fragrance in your evening or whatever. Just kind of covering the wardrobe. This is that fragrance you could rock all through the fall and winter into the spring every day. Get some joy out of it, probably pull some nice compliments. It's a very familiar DNA with its own little twist and tweak, and the quality here is quite nice. Again, doesn't smell all that synthetic to me. Man, I'm just such a fan of this one. It's been a little while since I've smelled it, and when I was gathering these, I was like, man, I really respect this scent, and it doesn't get enough. We're going to talk about it, so that's why it's in here. I think it deserves a seat at the table. It just doesn't get any love. There was a time years ago that it got some love here on the online fragrance community, but it doesn't get any more. Maybe I can spark a little bit of nostalgia for some, and maybe they'll dust their bottle off and give it, give it a sniff, or if you haven't gotten a sample and tried it before, maybe this is the one you've been missing from your collection. But I think it's absolutely a fall classic. It's Prada L'homme Rossa Sport. Now you can argue fall, you can argue winter. I typically wear it more in the winter, but I know a lot of people that enjoy this wear it in the fall. So, I'm not going to argue. I get it. I think it's great for the fall, too. We're talking about Boss the Scent Private Accord. This is my massive 200 ml bottle that has a decent dent in it. I'll never go through the full 200 ml, but dark chocolate, soft yet powdery, leathery smell with that sweet Maninka fruit. This is one of the best fragrances Hugo Boss has ever put out for men. This was my favorite until Magnetic. And there was an argument for the Absolute. On some days I would go back and forth on this or the Absolute. And then now Magnetic, it's like, no, that's the best one. When you can go back and forth with the newest is the best one, that means they're doing some really great work in the line. That's what it means. But there's an argument for this still being the best one because it's the most nuanced. It's the most note heavy in the pyramid. If you look across them, the Le Parfum / limited edition Parfum, because it was just a re-releasing of the black bottle from years ago with the Orris in it. That's a really good fragrance too, but I don't think it holds a candle to this. Everybody's got their pick, but all of them in the line are good. The only one I haven't tried is Pure Accord, and that one got some mixed reviews when it came out. I'll try it eventually, but the original is really good. The Intense is really good, which I wish I had a bottle of, but this is phenomenal. This one had to get its respect and get its due because I do think it's a classic for the season. I also think it's a classic for the winter. It could kind of go in both seasonal topics if I was to do this again for the winter. Comment down below if you want to see me do this for the winter. Definitely sound off and let me know. But if you haven't tried this one yet, hurry, hurry. It's that good. It might be your next favorite fragrance for the cooler weather, because this one has some nuance to it. Super intoxicating trail. Really long lasting without being overwhelmingly loud too. Good, good stuff. Boss the Scent, Private Accord. And last but not least, I know some people will say, what about the Intense? The Intense is phenomenal, but I mean, this is the fragrance that did it for me. This was my entry-level designer fragrance that entry-level designer Iris that spawned my love for Iris fragrances. It's a safer, soapy, spicy type of Iris. It's Prada L'homme. I think this is actually a little much for the summertime. I know a lot of people like it for the summer. I think it's a better spring and fall scent, especially the fall. That's when I like to wear this one. And I like the Intense specifically for the winter. That's the only time of year I wear the Intense. But this is another one that warrants a spray on skin. This is so good, especially since it's the final fragrance in the video. I fell in love with this fragrance. This fragrance makes me happy, and it made me want to explore more Iris. This is what kind of forced me into getting the Low Flanker, the Intense, the Dior Homme line, Givenchy Gentleman Eau de Parfum, and then it started to expand into the natural Florentine irises and Orris butter of the niche world, and so on, to where Iris, in some form or fashion, both fantasy Iris and natural Iris, has become my favorite note in perfumery. And this is the fragrance that sparked that for me. It's so soapy and aromatic. Neroli Iris combo, pepper cardamom. I forgot which woody note is in here. There's a lot of things going on, but that's the biggest thing. Is you get a peppery spice with a nice Iris neroli soapy powdery combination that is just damn near to die for. I absolutely love this fragrance. It's one of my happy fragrances. It puts me in a good mood to smell this. I'm sure you can see the mood lifting as I'm sniffing it, but it's just so good. It's just so good. I know a lot of people like to wear this for different things, but for me, it's great for the autumn. It's a classic for it. This was the season that I bought it in, when I blind bought it and just went out on a limb. This is one of those rare occasions that Jeremy Fragrance influenced me. Shout outs to Jeremy, I guess. Give the credit where it's due to the man. Years ago. And I just love this fragrance. It spawned a love for an entire fragrance note in perfumery. And it's because of this fragrance and this season that I think it's an absolute fall classic. If you haven't tried it yet, oh buddy, are you doing yourself a disservice. Prada L'homme. Well, that's the 15. There's a real possibility some of your favorites got left off, because I debated on doing a 20, but I was like, this is already going to be a 30-minute video. When I get to talking, I tend to do around 2 minutes of fragrance. And with 15, that's about 30 minutes. And based on the raw footage, we're at 30 minutes and 13 seconds as I speak. It'll get edited down slightly, but not drastically different. But I appreciate you guys for watching the whole way through, for those of you that did make it here to this point. And until next time, do me a real quick favor. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, because I do appreciate all the feedback, and I love hearing from you guys. What in this video do you feel strongly about and you agree is a fall classic? This is the season that you like to rock it. And which ones are your favorites that were omitted from here? Definitely sound off on some of your favorites that you believe to be classics for the season. And until next time, I will say, if you get your hands on any of the 15 that I featured and you give them a spray now, real good chance you'll thank me later. What can I say? Have a good one, guys.